she eat breakfast?
I don't think so, honestly. I think she sometimes makes a shake or something, but I don't think she's big on breakfast. When we first started dating, I was huge on breakfast. I was having breakfast I was having like 3 eggs a morning, and then I have eggs for for like lunch, and I was just putting eggs away until I realized what cholesterol was. And then I stopped because apparently that's bad.
Well, cholesterol is important.
That is very true.
You know, that's your body makes testosterone from cholesterol.
I did not know that, actually.
Mm-hmm. So with no cholesterol, no testosterone.
Oh my God, I got to start eating eggs
Actually,
again.
so it's crazy. I just watched a video about this today. Are you familiar with Lex Friedman?
Yeah, yep.
So it was his podcast, a clip. And the guy was basically saying cholesterol turns into testosterone or cortisol.
Cortisol is?
The stress hormone.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. So it was really interesting what he was saying about testosterone, too. He was actually saying testosterone makes effort feel good.
And cortisol?
Cortisol makes you not want to do stuff.
Right. Very fine line there.
So it's kind of crazy. Like, if you boost your testosterone, doing stuff feels better.
Are you using up more of that cholesterol so then it doesn't go to cortisone?
Yeah.
Eat eggs and lift weights.
Yes, sir. And appreciate when stuff gets hard.
Yeah. That's, I mean, even in the last couple weeks, it was like 1,000 things going at me at one time with work kind of speeding up and whatnot. And for like a solid half a day there, I was like, golly, I don't know if I can do this. And then you listen to a couple, morning pep up talks and whatnot, and you're like, this is the greatest part of my life. So, yeah.
When stuff is too easy, stuff doesn't get better.
No.
There's no reason for it to.
No. That's why I think I honestly went into real estate right away. It was like, I was working a job for 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, just punching numbers into Excel spreadsheets. And I was like, it feels like no meaning to this, So just kind of getting into something that's a little bit more, gives you some results from what you're working at, makes it all the better.
Makes you feel a lot better at night.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, this podcast has started. Brady Daly.
I guess we're getting rolling.
All right. How's it going?
Not too bad at all. Like I was saying, getting a little busy now that weather's heating up finally.
Out there showing houses a lot more?
Yeah. I got a couple later today. Had a couple last night, so it doesn't help that my car went out on me, but still trying to get to houses and show some people some houses. So
making it happen. Made it here.
Yeah, no kidding.
So we were talking about doing stuff and making effort feel good. You're all about helping people do stuff, right?
Yeah. I think that honestly, like that's one of my number one reasons for, pushing people towards home ownership, if it's, in the cards for them, is that it's just a way to start building their wealth and start kind of stocking away some assets. So if I can, show someone the benefits of home ownership or, owning rentals or something like that, then that makes it all worth it in the end. Because then I have someone that comes back to me that's like, hey, I'm ready to sell this house now. It's been a couple years and I didn't even realize it, but I've got, tens of thousands of dollars in equity. And it's something that they haven't been putting money away in their savings or something like that. But when they go to sell their house, they've got tens of thousands of dollars that they're like, I wasn't even thinking about this because it feels like I'm just paying rent to a bank. So if I can, push people towards that or educate people towards that, then that makes it all worth it, honestly.
I was thinking about it after I talked to you.
Thinking about potentially maybe not selling and renting it out and going to look at another place.
We're almost ready to upgrade. It's like been in for 3 years or so.
Yep. I mean,
all kinds of brand new, like we're in a twin home, but all kinds of full houses have been built around us.
Yep.
I'm sure we've done a lot to the house too, but just all that stuff, I'm sure we've gained quite a bit off of it so
Yeah.
far. So
Yeah.
got my wheels turning.
Right.
I think like that's a huge thing is a lot of people just don't even think that's possible. And so just to hear that, they're like, oh, wow, maybe I can do something.
Yeah. I mean,
where I think I'm stuck. You know?
It all starts with that, where everyone looks at home ownership and is like, my parents own a house, my parents have, a bunch of money in the bank account or something along those lines because they've been saving up for years, and I'm going to need, $50,000 to buy a house. But it's like, realistically, I mean, if you go sit down with a lender, they can potentially find a way that you can buy that house without putting any money down. I mean, there's so many loan programs that help out people with, low incomes or a low amount of savings in specific areas. So there's different cities giving out different loan programs, helping out people trying to get them to move there. So if you think that, you need to have $10,000 in the savings account in order to buy a house, it's just not true anymore. There's so many ways to go about it, and there's so many people that are helping out. So that's kind of my number one thing, is just educating everyone that's, fresh out of college or fresh out of high school, and they think that they need to save up for 2-3 years to have that big down payment. It's just not realistic anymore. And kind of what we were talking about before is realistically the thought of going from homeowner into going to more of a rental owner. So that's another thing where people buy their first house and they think that, I own this house. I can't, buy another house because it's going to be too much money or something like that. And I need that money to go into the next house. So I can't keep that house because I need to sell it, kind of thing. But there's ways around it where, if you make, like you said, you make some updates in the house and you've been in there for a little while. I mean, a home appreciates anyway. So you're already making money on that. You're putting money away into it. And then also you do those updates and you put in that sweat equity. You get that money in that house, and let's say you've been living in a house for a year or two. If you go and you do like a cash out refinance, which is basically you go to the bank and you say, hey, look at my house now. Look how much it's worth. I bought it for $100,000 and now it's worth, $160,000. And you go back to them and say, I would like to refinance it to as much as I can, take out some money there. You can get that loan probably up to, it depends, because some banks will let you do like 80% loan to value, meaning like if it's at $160,000, they'll give you 80% of that for a mortgage. And anything over or under that 80% and what you have, that's you can take as cash out, and you can just put it towards that next investment. So you have that cash now. You still own that property. You can rent that out. You can go buy your next one. So it's kind of like Monopoly.
I love it.
For lack of a better term.
So I think one thing that got me interested and like wanted to talk to you after we met was like the fact that you're really trying to help people take some control over what they're doing. But the first thing that kind of got my attention was the fact that you're using YouTube to educate.
Yeah.
And you're not using YouTube to, I mean, it is promotion, but you're not selling anything. You're just on there talking to people. Yep. Educating, connecting with an audience.
And I think that that's kind of a huge key for like my clients. I push them towards that YouTube, and I'm like, hey, there's going to be a lot of confusing things that are going to pop up while you're trying to buy a house. Hop onto my YouTube. I explain a lot of them in, long conversations. My last one I put up is something fun where we went through like celebrity houses, but the one before that we talked about the housing market, kind of why we're in this situation. So if they want to hop on there, it just kind of goes to show that, I'm here to help you out, but I also want to help educate you in this process, because if I can educate you throughout this whole thing and you're well versed on it and you can use it to your advantage and buy those rental properties or buy your next house for a great price, then that's all the better for me, because I've got a happy client who's happy to share my name and then also potentially buy some rentals or buy some more houses in the future. So it's all about just providing to my clients.
It saves so much time too, because
it really
that's
does.
Stuff that they need to know that you need to explain to them anyway.
Yeah.
So it's just, they get to do that on their own time.
Yeah. And it's such a confusing, I mean, it can be a super confusing process, because it's like, you may have been through, getting a new rental, or getting into a new townhouse or something like that. And realistically, all you do is go look at it with some rental agent and sign your name on the dotted line. So how would people know, what the home buying process is like? Because I mean, on the big screen, it's basically they walk into a house and they tell their agent, they're like, we want this house. And then the next scene is they straight up are just living in the house.
They're looking at House Hunters or some show.
Yeah, right. So I always try to just educate everyone because it can be super stressful because it's like you go into a home buying process and it's probably one of the biggest financial transactions you're going to have. So you're talking to the bank, they're diving into your finances. And even if you're extremely rich, no one likes going through their finances with someone else because they know that someone's looking at them and they're like, I hope they don't think this about me or this about me kind of thing. So super tense there.
Uncomfortable.
And then when you get into the actual, my side of things on the realtor side, it's like you go through a house, you do your inspections on the house, and then it feels like me versus the seller. We're trying to battle it out and see how much money we can get. But realistically, if you got someone that's helping you out, it should be an easier process because they should be like, hey, you know what? This is what's pretty customary. This is the real issues of the house. Let's get these settled kind of thing. So it's all about getting good people around you and just kind of educating you on the process, like you said.
So what made you think of starting with YouTube?
It was, I was doing so much video work on Instagram and Facebook that at some point in time, I mean, I love pushing stuff out on Instagram, but almost all of my Instagram feed is video. And after a minute, it's like, it seems a little bit much for Instagram. So I was like, I'm going to start doing it on YouTube, and start doing, like you said, more educational stuff. Because on Instagram and Facebook and whatnot, it's like I can push out little things here and there that are good tips. But if you really want to dive into a topic and really educate people, it seems like that would be the best platform.
Long form.
Yeah.
Longer form.
Right, exactly. So not to mention, it's like I can take that and share those to other platforms and they can watch it there. But it's just such a great place for people to search around and find that. But also you can direct people to it.
I think YouTube's really unique, and like Facebook, when you post something today, usually it dies within a couple days.
Right.
Whereas YouTube, people do go back.
Yeah.
They go 100%. Back in time on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And YouTube recommends 2-year-old videos.
I literally just watched a 2-year-old video this morning.
And it's crazy. Like, I think that's the only real platform like that right now, social media wise.
Right.
Where things don't die immediately.
I think that's super huge. I mean, on Instagram, it feels like you get, 12 hours max.
If you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're lucky. I know for a little while there, I had like Instagram that was like popping up like 2 days old at one point in time, but it seems like they fixed that pretty quick. And now it's like YouTube's the only thing where you're getting some of that older content.
And it's search. When somebody Googles something, they get YouTube results.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's like win, win, win.
I know, right? Seems like they might have operated that or figured that out with themselves somehow. Helps when they own literally everything.
Everything. They're watching.
They are watching. I just enjoy putting this stuff together because I don't know if I told you before, but I went to school for marketing and, I'm not necessarily doing exactly my degree. I'm not in market research or anything like that, but I find a real passion in, producing stuff and, putting stuff together and kind of showing people storytelling, if you will, about things.
That one every once in a while.
No worries. But I like the whole storytelling and kind of, just providing information. And so whenever I can dive into a new project like YouTube or like a specific series that I'm running on Instagram, like that's the fun part of my job.
That's what's going to make it more engaging too.
Yep.
Is if you're telling a story, people will watch.
Yep.
If you're just blah blah blah, nobody cares.
Yep. Usually how it goes.
Even if it's good info.
Yeah. I mean, when I first started, I got some real heat from my fiance. She was watching one of my videos and it was probably 2 minutes in. She was like, if we weren't dating, I would not be watching this. She's like, I just don't care. It's just your face for 3 minutes straight. And I'm like, brutal, but very true.
I'm sure she likes your face.
Yeah, sometimes. And so when I got through that, I was like, when I kind of dived into that, I was like, you do need some more stuff to really catch the eye, keep the viewer there.
Short attention span.
Oh, big time. I mean, I'm the worst. So, but I can't look at my own work with a very critical eye. I wish I could, but thank God she's there to help me out, because she's like, you need to diversify it. You need to really grab their attention. So it's, the cool thing about real estate is that you can toss some pictures of houses and whatnot over top, which is usually what I do, because people love looking at houses. I guarantee you half the people looking on Zillow have no intention on buying a house. They're
just getting ideas.
Yeah, right. I mean, there was an SNL skit like 2 weeks ago where it was just a bunch of people looking on Zillow, and then a realtor would call them and they were like, I'm not interested in buying a house at all. But people love looking at houses. So if I can use that and just kind of show people that that it's a real attainable thing, and that they're like, hey, you could buy a house and you could do all these cool DIY stuff that you see on TikTok and on YouTube and whatnot.
You just got to take a little bit of action.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just feels like the barrier of entry for it is so high, and that taking action is so hard. But it's like every single time I talk to someone and I'm able to kind of portray that it's really not that hard to actually get going, then it feels like, the whole world is opened up and they can own property. They can, start a rental portfolio, anything like that. It's just, I think helpful.
Once that's opened up in one way for somebody, it opens up in every other way too.
I think so. Yeah.
Like I use fitness as a good springboard for things. Take control over your fitness, that's you taking control over your life on some level, right? So
absolutely.
It just opens the door to taking control in other areas of your life. Yep.
No, I completely agree. I know I've always had some sort of fitness involved with my life for quite a while, from, high school sports and whatnot. And then throughout college, I think I took a pretty decent break, unfortunately. But as soon as I got out after that, it seems like my most productive times are the times when I'm, most fit, or at least working towards something. Because it gives you a goal, and it gives you something to work on.
Yeah. Probably that testosterone boost.
I think so.
Eat them eggs.
I know. I got to work the eggs back in the diet. I got a little bit of shock when we were talking about cholesterol, but I think we're back at it. So
it's like anything, you could overdo anything.
Yeah, right.
If you drink too much water, you could die.
That's an insane stat. That blows my mind. I put down so much water. It's an amazing.
It happens all the time. Like water drinking contests.
Yeah, right.
People die.
That's insane. Weird. How is that even a thing? Who put that together?
That's a good question.
It's a big flaw. But yeah, no, anything in a too much excess can definitely be a bad thing. Even, me sitting and looking at houses from time to time, I start to get critical on houses that I can't even afford.
Right.
You're looking at, $500,000, $600,000, $7,000 houses, and you're like,
I like this one, but
I wouldn't have gone with that paint color, something like that.
that floor.
Yeah, what were they thinking? Oak in a time like this? So, yeah,
stuck in the 90s, bro.
Yeah, I know, and I think kind of touching on that, or pivoting off that, is you'd be amazed how short-lived some of the styles are. Like farmhouse, I'm pretty sure is going to be gone next year. But everybody's got it in their house because it was hot.
Right.
Everybody had it. But in one of my YouTube videos, I kind of touched on it. It was a little bit of a controversial video as well, which I probably should have expected because I was just trashing everyone's brand new houses. I was talking about, what's new and coming up in home styles and what's old, and a lot of the stuff was white cabinets and kitchens and farm style doors.
What people like right now.
Yeah, exactly what everyone likes right now. And I got people commenting like, yeah, but I just really like the clean look, and I like this and I like that, and like simplified places. Like apparently the trends are going away from like the super simplified place where it's space everywhere and minimalism, that kind of stuff. And when I said that, I mean, I knew that was going to be a problem because everyone's like, well, I don't want my house to be dirty. But I know that a lot of like trend experts are looking, more into what's coming up, and it's a lot of, comfort. And I think it's honestly from a lot of the coronavirus pandemic where everyone's
People been
spending
stuck in their
time.
house.
Exactly. And they're moving more towards like, big bookshelves with, a bunch of books on it, like not color coordinating the books and, putting in some fun colors in the house, doing some really saturated colors in the kitchen.
That's interesting when most people probably read digital books more than anything else
Right.
now.
Yeah, I know. And I've been trying to build up my library. It doesn't help that I read, 10 pages of a book once every other week.
It makes for a good YouTube set.
That's very true. That's very
behind
true.
you.
Yeah. Well, so I think I had mentioned this before. Sophie and I are planning on getting a place here soon. Because thank God I can finally get one now that I'm self-employed for over 2 years. So finally, but I'm so excited to sit downstairs and just build out a really cool YouTube set. That's, something I can have guests on, something I can do stuff like that. And I'm just going to fill it with books. It's just going to be covered in books.
Hell yeah.
I'll look so smart, even though I haven't read most of them.
As long as you have smart guests on.
That's very true.
And you could keep up.
That's very true.
That's all that matters. You still look smart.
That's how the Rogan man does it.
I think so.
I think he's fairly smart, but I think he's
got a
he's a
baseline
chameleon.
Of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a lot of useless knowledge too, and that kind of is an advantage in this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if a guest brings something up, there's a good chance I've heard of it.
Right.
Even though I might not know anything about it.
Yeah.
It's like I could understand what you're saying at least.
Yeah.
So
I'm good with the baseline knowledge, and then I also like to toss in like I listen to so many podcasts that I'm just constantly and I just pick up random facts, and whenever I'm the worst. I'm going to be completely honest with you. If we're driving over a pothole or something like that, I heard recently why they call them potholes, and I just tell everyone. It doesn't matter if they bring it up.
we got to hear.
So the reason is, and I can't even remember where I heard this from. It was probably from Twitter or TikTok or something, honestly, maybe a podcast. But it was back in the day, in like, I want to say like Roman times, when they would make pots and they would put them in the kiln. If there was any air bubbles in it, it would blow up. And so they would need to work on the clay for so long before they were able to make anything. And so all of the roads where there would be, chariots going across of them, they would constantly be beaten down. And so the pot makers would just go out into the road and scoop the beaten down mud there and take that and make a pot out of it. Hence pothole. Interesting, isn't it?
That's going to be a clip.
I toss it out all the time.
That's crazy.
I know. And
it's crazy that it's like goes back from that far too.
There's so many weird things that I read something about horse chariots specifically being like 2 horse butts wide, and then they took that measurement and brought it, or they wanted to use that for train tracks or something like that, and then they had to bring a specific shuttle through train tracks or something like that, and so they were like, I definitely saw this one on TikTok, but it was like the reason why the shuttle is this far wide is because it's the size of 2 horse butts. It's just weird stuff like that.
It's weird how we take like the old way of doing things and apply that to the new way of doing things.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't really make any sense.
Right.
To do it that way.
Yeah.
It's just, that's how they've been doing it.
Right. I don't really understand a lot about history. I wish I understood more because I would think of so many little anecdotal things to bring up all the time. But I wish I could. I was a history channel buff, if that counts as history, but it's mostly just watching Band of Brothers. So, which I hear they're coming out with another season, if you will, soon. So very excited about that.
I thought that was is that a show or a movie?
Show. Yep. It was like a 13 season show on like HBO, I think.
Talking about video stuff, like I watch a lot of cinematography videos. And the way like Quentin Tarantino describes film, like a film movie versus a digital movie, like the physical is so much different. Basically, when you do a film movie, you're taking 24 pictures per second, and it's 24 it's 24 still images that looks like a moving images or a moving image, whereas digital, it's all just zeros and ones essentially.
Really?
So there's something lost in the translation. But there's also some of the high-end digital filmmakers who say, when you look at a film movie, you see maybe film grain or something like this. You see a layer over the picture.
Okay.
You know you're watching a movie. Whereas a digital image, even though it's all just zeros and ones, you could accurately see what is actually in front of the camera.
Right.
There's not a layer in front, so there's no film grain. It could be made to look clean. It could bring you into the video. Rather than know you're watching a series of images, you could actually be pulled into it because there's no layer in between you and the action.
Wild.
There's so many psychological factors to like all this stuff. So like, but when you listen to a vinyl record, you put the needle in the groove, and that groove goes all the way around. Like it's a constant thing. Like that needle never breaks contact.
Right.
So like in that sense, that's where they say vinyl music can kind of pull you in because it creates a different effect psychologically.
Yeah.
That you don't even understand.
And it's just the needle making a pitch that would match whatever at that moment
so
is happening.
crazy. Like, how is this even possible? That
I don't
needle,
understand
you know what I'm saying?
But I also heard, God, look at me come forward with the ancient artifact stuff.
Yeah.
I heard that they were taking, and this could just be the biggest pot of BS, but I heard that they could take old pots from like way, way long ago, and they could drag like a needle on it, and they could hear things from that time. That could be a lie, but that's what I've heard.
I've also heard water. Water contains information.
Really?
Yeah. So when you drink that bottle of water, you're receiving information.
I'm not drinking the water anymore.
That you don't even know. Where'd that water come from, man?
No kidding. I should have got the Fiji water. What was I thinking?
It's like, there's only so much water on this earth.
It's all cycled.
It's all recycled. Yeah, we're like this. The water that you're drinking has been drank by somebody else.
So weird. I just literally saw a picture of, I think it was Bill Gates or one of those guys that was drinking, I kid you not, feces water that was taken from feces. And he was drinking. He's like, "Look, guys, I'm drinking water that was made out of poop."
Hard sell.
I'm out.
It's a hard sell.
I know they're gonna try and do something like that when you go interplanetary
Mars,
that they're gonna do that, and I'm on board with everything, but I won't be there. I'm gonna be completely honest.
Until then, until the poop water starts rolling,
that's when I'm out.
So
unless they need to buy and sell houses on Mars,
here's the thing, though. Did you know that people take poop pills to get healthy, to lose weight?
Not until now.
It's called fecal transplants. So you take the poop from a healthy person. I don't know if they do it in pills. It might be a different approach. But essentially, the gut microbiome from a healthy person, from a healthy person's poop can make your gut microbiome healthy.
I don't want to be healthy that bad.
So they say a person's like body fat, their body composition, has a lot to do with their gut bacteria.
Is that
having
why
a bad balance?
I always hear people talk about improving gut biomes on a bunch of different health things. I wish I understood health a little bit better. My knowledge is basically pieced together YouTube videos and talking to the strong friend group person. So that's basically it. There's
a lot of stuff that people are not aware of when it comes to health. I feel like maybe in 10 years things will be changing, but I feel like the fitness, when people think of fitness, they think of bodybuilding.
Right.
And that's the opposite of health.
Yeah.
You know
Right.
what I
That's
mean?
a little unhealthy at times.
So yeah, I feel like there needs to be a whole. I was in the fitness business the whole time. I hated the fitness business.
It's got to be one of the most competitive businesses there are. I mean, everyone's just naturally
It's competitive based on lies
lies
and misinformation.
What about like a natural bodybuilder?
Oh, if somebody wants to bodybuild, I don't think there's anything. If they choose to do that, that's on them. But I feel like the general public's perception of what health and fitness looks like was created by supplement companies. Essentially.
That would make sense.
I mean, it's a pretty big industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it didn't start until like the 60s, really.
Right. That's kind of reminds me more or less of like how cigarette companies would be, trying to stamp down like, alternative forms. Like you saw all that legislation going up against, alternative forms. I'm like, who's really fronting the money here?
Exactly.
So
and,
it's
that way.
dirty.
Pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
Same way. Like, you think they want natural ways to get healthy?
That doesn't make any money.
Exactly.
No, I think personally, like I was talking to my hairstylist. Do you guys have hairstylists or
your barber?
Barber.
Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, there you go.
I was talking to my barber recently, and she was a personal trainer. I think she still does some personal training. Jordan, if you know Jordan, she's married to Ryan.
Jordan
Pingray.
Tanner probably knows her.
Probably.
Yeah.
But so I was talking to her about it, and I'm on a big weight loss journey before the wedding, and so trying to lose as much weight as possible. And I've always been a believer of like you need to get X amount of calories at least to, help out your body. I know you got to go on like a calorie deficit, but you should get enough that, your body's not harboring that fat there. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to her about it, and she was like, you need to up your calorie intake by like a lot in order to, really lose that weight. Mm-hmm. And that's something that like I want to believe so bad because it just means I can eat more clean, but eat more.
Yep.
But it's so easy to look at it and be like, well, if I don't eat that, that's another, 500 calorie deficit kind of thing. Now, I'm not diving into eating 500 calories a day or anything, but I'm certainly, not scraping the ceiling at 3,000 calories. But it's weird to think that there's, like you were saying, a lot of fitness hacks where you do need to eat a lot more in order to get to your goal of losing weight. Mind blowing.
Yeah, if your body's always in starvation mode, it's going to want to hold on to whatever it can.
Right. So. That's something I really I fear that I run into with doing stuff like fasting or anything like that. Like I did keto for a while, and I actually really enjoyed it. I know it's not, a lot of people don't really like it. For me, it worked out pretty well because I was lifting a lot during the time, and I lost a lot of weight during it. But I went right into another more just healthy eating right afterwards. So I didn't have that, gain it all back like some people do have. But I mean, it blows my mind that works on the body. You're just eating fat and protein all day. You can eat chicken wings. Yeah, lots of cholesterol.
Lots of testosterone with that. As long as you're not, and that's another thing too, like when you're trying to cut calories, you're talking about, man, if I just don't eat that, that's 500 calories less.
That's a slippery slope.
That's emotionally stressful.
Yeah.
So like now you're promoting that cortisol, that stress hormone.
Oh yeah.
And you're not getting any cholesterol if
you're
depriving yourself. So it's like
Yeah. And one thing that I haven't, taken and started practicing as if it's the gospel, but one thing that I have heard before from a lot of people is the whole mindful eating and, just, the mental part of everything.
Yep.
I'm like, it sounds like it takes so much energy. I can't do it. But it's realistically, apparently it makes like a really big difference. But I haven't done that in the past. I know that would be a really good addition to, what you're currently working on. So
It doesn't take any more time. It just takes a little
like
bit of
30
restraint
seconds
to not,
more.
to not watch the screen or whatever.
Right. Yeah. No. That's
all
what it
really
is. Yeah.
And thinking about what you're doing instead of thinking about
Right.
something externally, because you're putting something that's supposed to be really good for your body in, but if you're not taking that into account, like you're watching some news or something that's doom and gloom.
Yep.
What's your body gonna do with that information? You know what I mean? Because food is information too.
Right.
So when you're mixing bad information with information that you're not paying attention to, all the information is just going to turn into...
Oh, and I'm a big, like, I finished my first serving, and Sophia's called me on this before, but I finished my first serving, and I'll be up at the dinner table grabbing serving number 2, and she's like, just take a second and let it, you're probably going to be full in like a minute if you just wait for a second. I'm such a fast eater.
Yeah.
I grew up building houses with my dad's construction company, and we would, whenever we would take a break for lunch, it would be everyone sit down in the trailer, eat your food as fast as you can, and let's get back on the site. And so at first I wasn't a fast eater, but I mean, after a couple of years of working with him, it was like, finish your food quick and get back on the site.
Yep.
So I think that was I think that might have spurred it. But yeah, that's one thing where I've been trying to just take it easy, maybe a little bit slower from time to time.
Chew your food 20 to 25 times each bite.
Oh, that's absurd. Do you really have to do that? You're supposed to, at least?
That's where a lot of the digestion process takes place, is you chewing it up.
Really?
Also, that whole information thing, that's usually your second interaction with the food. Usually you smell it.
Yep.
Or you see it and smell it. And that kind of gets your body prepped, starts getting digestion, juices flowing and all that.
Right.
And then you taste it, you eat it, and that's your body's first real interaction with it. It's collecting that information so it knows what to do with it.
Right.
Because your body has a different process to digest fat and carbs and protein and all that. That's why a lot of people say it's not good to mix carbs and protein together.
Oh, they would hate Subway.
Yeah, totally.
Big time.
They say you can mix fat and carbs or
Yep.
fat and protein, but you don't want to mix protein and carbs.
Big time.
That's what some people say.
On sandwiches.
Totally.
That was the anti-sandwich people that were doing that.
It was probably the keto guys.
It probably was the keto guys.
No, but so basically that's when your body knows what to do with the food. Is when you put it in your mouth and chew it up. So if you're just scarfing.
That's me. I just toss it down. Sometimes I don't even taste it.
Sometimes, like, if we give a piece of food to the dog, like, they don't even taste it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, have you seen those
mats? Like that, there's a good chance of them throwing it back up. Too,
I saw those mats where it's got it makes it challenging for the dog to eat it, which feels like animal abuse first off, but they have to slowly eat all the way around or something like that. Maybe not a bad idea. I might need one of those plates for myself and just have you unlock a layer as you go through. Self-control, but not the self part.
We might want to edit that out of the podcast. You might want to take that to Shark Tank.
No kidding. I'm bringing that right to Barbara Corcoran's door.
No doubt. Yeah, so that let's move on from health lessons here.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about what got you into real estate. Like what made you decide to get into real estate in the first place?
Sure. So a bit on my background. Like I said earlier, my dad owns a construction company. So I grew up building houses for years and doing, house remodels, stuff like that. So I always had kind of a contractor background. And my mom is actually the head of finance over at Hague Realtors here in town. And she has been for, I think, all my life, most of my life. And so I actually grew up around realtors most of my life and also building houses.
It's in your blood.
It's in my blood. I was meant for this. And so when I went to school, I was kind of jumping around majors for a little bit. I started out with mathematics, and then I jumped into more graphic design. And then I finally found my way to marketing, and I was like, this is exactly what I want to do, because I like playing around on Twitter and, doing dumb social media stuff. And this is basically a degree on that. Right. Now, so after I finished up with USD, getting my marketing degree, I actually went into analytics at a bank. And that's what I was saying earlier, is I was like, I would sit down at 8 a.m. on the dot, have to clock in, and then clock out at 5 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And I would have like 2 spreadsheets to do. I would get it done in, an hour or 2. And then for the rest of the day, I was like, what do I do?
Market research.
And so I did about a year of that. And I was like, gosh, like, it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, granted, as a person, it's like you always want to try your hardest and show your boss that you're doing a lot. I think there's, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. But for me personally, I saw kind of what I was doing, and it was like I could try extremely hard and I would still get, same paycheck. And so I wanted to go into something that, it wasn't as structured, so it was a big risk, but I wanted to find something that, I work harder and I make more.
No guarantee, but
right, you work less, and which it's so easy.
There's a guarantee that if you work less, you won't make more, but there's a chance that if you work more, you'll get more.
Exactly, and it's like, I'm so glad that I did a year in like corporate America where I got that 8 to 5, because if I would have gone straight into real estate right after college, I kid you not, I would be in the office at 10 a.m. and out of the office at 1 p.m. Right. I'd be like, that's a full work day.
Yeah.
Which I do see some people doing, and for some people it works.
Got a spreadsheet done today.
Got another spreadsheet done. I called 2 people today. What's up? When those checks rolling in. So I'm glad I got into that. And that's kind of what led me towards it, was just, knowing realtors, knowing houses. Mm-hmm. And I knew at some point in time I wanted to get into something salesy so I could talk to people and just, be out and about.
Right.
And
not have
just
one workplace every day.
Right, right. No, I still have a picture of my bank desk in my office, which I was talking to my buddy about recently, and he's like, you should take that down. Like, that's like negative. And I'm like, no, dude, that's what pushes me. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what I'm all about, because I don't want, like, I look at it as if, like, if I don't work hard today and I don't make my paychecks toward next month or the following month,
that's where I got to go.
I'll go right back there, kind of thing. And it's like, I remember just driving downtown, parking in the parking ramp with everybody else and going and clocking in on the dot, not being late, kind of thing. And I'm like, forget that. Cause it's like, I do, like, now I start my work day pretty early. I'll start working at like 6 or 7 a.m. And so I'll leave some time open in the afternoon for myself, but I have that ability to move it around and kind of do what I want. But I'm not strictly scheduled to, got to start work here, got to end work here, and you get 14 days vacation.
And he was here early today.
And I was here early. But it's just like, looking at it and wanting to kind of build a life for me and my future family, and having something where, kids have a baseball game or something like that. That's something that I would value so high, and I would want to be there for those activities. And so if I can build something that allows me to step away at any point in time, that's what it's all about. No matter if it's, the most profitable thing or, anything like that. That's all. That's kind of my main pushing thing, is just to have the availability.
Freedom.
Freedom's kind of the number one thing for me. So
I love it.
That's definitely what got me into it. What keeps me into it, honestly, is kind of what we were talking about earlier, and is like helping people out, which sounds like such a phony statement, because why did I get into it? I got into it so I could make money. I'm not going to be, fake about it. But
how do you make money?
You help out your people and you make them happy.
And if you do that genuinely, that feels better than the paycheck.
Oh, exactly. I mean, when I first started, there was months there where, it wasn't going well or something like that. And you're like, gosh, how am I going to be able to make rent this month? Or how
one good conversation, like even if it doesn't make you $1, could change your mindset on that, though.
Yeah.
When it gets hard like that.
Yep. Extremely. And I went through a lot of coaching this last year, business coaching. And that was, one of the main driving forces for them, is like, you know what? Sit down every day and talk to yourself about, what happened yesterday that was awesome. what can you look back on and what are you going to do today that'll benefit you tomorrow? Because what I tell everybody is real estate is a 3-month business. What you do today will benefit you in 3 months from now.
Right.
Whereas, maybe some, smaller ticket items like smaller sales, you market it today, you get the sale today.
Right.
If you find a client today,
yeah, you could say like
you
a
close on it.
car would be like a shorter one. And then like a vacuum cleaner would be like a right now. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
A car might be a 2-month thing, whereas a house is a 3-month, where a blender is right now.
Yep, exactly. And I mean, there are those times where you find a client and they're a cash buyer and they want to close in a week. Awesome.
Doesn't happen.
Super great. Not very often. So the realistic way to look at it is that, you sit down with someone and you'll look at homes for, a month or 2 months or 3 months. I've had clients that we've been looking at houses for a year plus. So it's like, you never really know, but that's where it comes back to, you don't want to work for the paycheck. You want to work for the client, and then the paycheck will come.
Right.
I mean, that's one thing that I was talking to a couple people in my office, and Sharon Harms, who's an agent at our office, kind of had a long conversation with me about that when I first started. And she was like, look, if you just take care of your clients, the rest of it will take care of itself.
They'll take care of you.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
You do a great job, and those clients are going to be like, I'm not trying to sell Brady. I'm trying to help my friends because he'll be someone that helps them out, kind of thing.
Exactly.
So
yep.
That's definitely what keeps me in on it. So, and I mean, stopping by people's houses or pointing at people's houses and being like, I sold that house, or like, hey, my buddy lives there. I sold that house last year, kind of thing, and popping in and saying hi every now and then. Super awesome. Because people, I mean, there's something different about, this product that you're selling where it's not like a sweatshirt where someone might have their favorite sweatshirt. This is their home. This is where they raise their family.
Right.
So it's got a deeper feeling to it.
Every Valentine's Day, our realtor still brings us chocolates.
Yep.
Shout out to Jeff Rink.
That's a good Jeff Rink? No kidding.
Yep.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, he was he's a family friend of my wife's family. More like family to my wife's family.
Yep.
But damn, he was good.
Yeah, Jeff's the best. I mean, so I work with Jeff every now and then. So Jeff's in my office, obviously. And Jeff is married to Angela, who is Sophie's coworker. So we run into him all the time. Whenever I see him, he's like, "How are the Keller girls doing?"
He's amazing. Like,
he's a great guy.
He put us at ease so many times. Like,
yep, and that's what it's all about.
And like when we're kind of like maybe had stars in our eyes, he's like the realist. Too.
Yeah, and that's, you got to be the level head.
Not in a shooting down way. He was just like, he was honest. He was like, told us what to look for. It was It made a huge difference because it was our first time buying a house.
Yep.
I don't like that sales process generally.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to spend my time being sold something.
Yeah.
And he never tried to sell anything. Like,
yep.
He was just trying to help us the whole time.
That's a good mark of someone who's good.
When we buy our next house,
yep,
there's a good chance we're going to talk to him. You know what I mean?
That's exactly what you want. Is like
it's not him reminding us like about how good he is. He reminds us how much he actually cared about us when we were in that process. Right. And he still sends like birthday wishes every year.
Yep.
And everything. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the mark of a good, I want to say realtor, but it's a mark of a good, I don't want to say salesman either, but someone that wants to help you out. Good person.
Yeah.
It's just, that's something that, like I said, in that training, we go through and they just talk about like, hey, be friends with your clients, because I just texted one of my clients a couple days back and I was like, hey, you want to grab some lunch sometime soon? And so we're going to go grab some lunch, sit down, kind of just chat. And we probably won't even bring up real estate. I just want to, kind of connect on a closer level so that once we're, in the process, I can be candid with them. And I don't have to, be a stiff board about this is what's typical.
And you can help him out better if you know what he likes. What he doesn't like.
Exactly.
His personality. It's going to help you.
Yep. You step into a house and you're like, hey, you were planning on getting a dog later. This one doesn't have a fence. Is that okay? Kind of thing. Right. Or, I know you go down to this place pretty often, or you go to this gym pretty often. There's this house that popped up right by it, kind of thing. So just kind of getting to a better feel for them.
Right.
And it's nice to get a long-term plan as well and just kind of figure out, what are your goals? Like, what do you plan on doing here in the future? Do you guys want to, live in Sioux Falls or wherever for, only 3 years and then we're going to leave?
Right.
Then maybe, the designated single family house isn't the exact thing for you, but, maybe we're planning on, like I said earlier, buying this house and then renting it out in the future. Okay,
Right.
let's find something that has some good rental potential.
Yeah. Looking into that. The next step.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Just preparing.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the best thing. So,
All right, so you're a fairly young dude. I would say you're ahead of the curve, marketing-wise.
okay, I'll take that.
I guess we'll go real estate specifically.
Mm-hmm.
This is a question I like asking people.
Yeah.
Where do you see Sioux Falls in 5 years?
I see so much potential in Sioux Falls because, and we had talked about this kind of before, is like if you could go back to LA or Chicago or something along those lines when they were as small as Sioux Falls, I guarantee you everyone was like, this is going to be a big city and there's a lot of stuff moving in and they're having a housing shortage because there's so many people moving in. I think that that's, maybe saying Sioux Falls is going to be the size of LA or Chicago is a little bit of an overstatement, but I realistically think that. I think that there's, so much potential. There's so many, grassroots people here that are all working on their own businesses. And there's just a real, I don't even know how to pronounce it.
There's a lot of talent and there's a lot of work ethic.
Big time. And it blows my mind every time I meet someone new and I'm like, we have one of those in Sioux Falls. Like we have, a giant recording studio in Sioux Falls. We have, you walk downtown, you're like, I have not heard of that business, but it looks super cool kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It blows my mind how big Sioux Falls is because it feels so small town. But in the next 5 years, I mean, I think our first big step is having a celebrity move here. I think that's realistically, I could see that in the next 5 years because it's such a fun town. Like
I feel like we have celebrities from maybe not Sioux Falls.
We got, January Jones. I think is from Sioux Falls or around the area.
She went to Sioux Falls.
She went to Roosevelt, I'm pretty sure.
Did she go to Roosevelt? Yeah, so.
Because she actually dated, and I don't know if he's going to hate that I bring this up, but she dated Tony Erickson, who's a Hague Realtors agent, and she pulled a prank on him a little while back and told a story about it on Kimmel.
I think I've seen something about this, yeah.
Or on Fallon, that's what it was. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, but I remember seeing that. That's where I learned about that.
Yeah.
Useless piece of information.
That's how we do it.
Yeah.
But no, I think that there's just so much potential in the business.
Hold on. Before we move on.
Yeah.
I like what you're saying. If you could choose one celebrity to move to Sioux Falls, who would you choose?
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks?
Yeah.
Why that choice?
He wrote a book about small towns in America that he likes, and I think Sioux Falls was like number one or like the first one. Maybe
you told me about that one last time. Yeah.
So I would say Tom Hanks. I want to say someone like Jonah Hill would be cool to move here too.
Is he like super jacked now?
I don't know. I just saw something recently where the Daily Mail posted something like some body shaming article about him, and he just posted it on Instagram, and he's like, why? Why would you say that about me? So I don't know what he, but I saw he was pretty jacked for a minute there, but
like, that's not even possible.
But he seems like
him to
just
make
like
that transition.
Such like a good vibes guy that I would love to have someone like that in Sioux Falls.
Nice.
That or someone wild like James Franco. That'd be cool just to have him pop up. Oh, you know what? I take it all back. Ashton Kutcher, because he's from Iowa. And
yeah, he is. Yeah.
And I have a family friend who saw him at an Iowa bar in like whatever town he's from, because they're from that town as well. Mm-hmm. Just the most normal dude ever. So I want him.
Have you seen that Cheetos commercial?
No.
The new one? Oh man, him and his wife are in a. You know the song "Wasn't Me" by Shaggy?
Yeah. Yep.
Ashton Kutcher. I'm pretty sure like he was making fun of it, but his Jamaican accent.
Good or bad?
So horrible.
Speaking of Jamaican accents, Tom Hanks' son does a Jamaican accent, and it is mind-blowing. I don't know if it's good or bad, but when I first heard him say it, I was like, interesting. Very interesting. But yeah, that's who I would say I would want to move to Sioux Falls. I think Tom Hanks has a good chance.
I think that that should just be a cul-de-sac of people.
That would be very cool. That would be a very diversified cul-de-sac in terms of party level.
No doubt.
I think so. I think Jonah Hill and James Franco would be on the more partying side, and then it would get a little bit less partying with Ashton Kutcher, and maybe a little less with Tom Hanks, maybe a little more. I don't really know him personally.
You don't know how he gets down.
I haven't talked to him in a while, so I just...
All right, so that was our tangent. Back to Sioux Falls, the real. Where do we see it in 5 years?
Yeah. So, looking at the plans for what they have, just economically, obviously we're expanding quite a bit in East Sioux Falls and also in West Sioux Falls. We're going south. We'll probably connect with Harrisburg soon.
Yeah, we're in T right now, but probably it's going to be Sioux Falls soon.
I didn't even realize I left Sioux Falls. But I would say with all the big production companies coming, Amazon coming, there's the Asian Foods facility that's coming up as well. So that's a lot of jobs. So I think we're gonna see a lot more large corporations come here, and hopefully, I just hope it keeps growing like it is, because it's good for business for me, and it's just good for Sioux Falls just to
good for culture.
Get more. Yeah, exactly. Like I've got a good buddy that has this awesome group. It's called Our Growth Project.
Yeah,
you know him. So my buddy Soul is kind of.
I'm going to ask him to be on the podcast here.
Really?
Next round of people that I reach out to, Soul's going to definitely be one.
Soul's the best. I'm actually working with his brother and sister-in-law right now to check out some houses. So
nice.
Yeah. So but like things like that, like they've got that awesome just feel to it. It's all inclusive. It's really fun for the community. So it's nice to bridge the gap between that community and your typical Sioux Falls citizen. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's nice to kind of get a melding of cultures so you can better enjoy and celebrate the mixed pot that we have here.
Right.
So I think it's really awesome. And I think with all the development that's coming up, it'll just be even better. So I've got high hopes for Sioux Falls. I think right when I left college, I was like, I'm not moving back to Sioux Falls, man. Now that I'm here and now I'm part of like the business culture here, like, this is the best.
Hard to leave.
Yeah.
The weather sucks,
and everything.
But
weather does suck. It was like 35 out today, 40 maybe.
Yeah, I'll be out walking in a t-shirt later.
Yes, for sure. If it hits 50, I'm outdoor dining. I'll do it.
See people out in flip-flops and shorts at 45 or so. So
interesting move, but I understand it.
South Dakota, man.
It was -20 like a month ago. So
we're adapted right now.
We are very adapted. If it was this temperature last year, I would be bundled up. Now I'm feeling good. Now I'm feeling good.
So where could the people find you?
People can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. It's all at Brady Daly Realty. And
YouTube.
Oh, and YouTube is just Brady Daly right now. I think I need to build up my subscribers before they let me do a custom thing. I got to look into that. So if you got any tips on that, let me know. But just Brady Daly.
We'll talk about that. But for right now, you can just click on that little thing right there floating over his head to go check out his channel.
Rock on.
Thanks for being on, man.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody.
That was good. That was really good. Scanned a lot of topics. I like that. What's it really?